Hello world! Today we're going to talk about a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It's a great book. It's been around my entire adult life. Recently read it a couple years ago for the first time, and I want to keep reading it and read it several more times before it's over. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a book that can help you, but you have to do the work. You can't just read the book and not do any of the work. It's not going to take you where you want to go. But it will help you go from a state of dependence to a state of independence to a state of interdependence once you do all the steps and put them in. So it really talks about making yourself more productive and increasing your capacity to become productive. It uses an example of the goose that laid the golden eggs and how the goose could lay eggs, but if you try to make it go too fast or try to get the eggs too fast, you'll destroy your whole capacity to produce in the first place. So it's based off that Aesop's fable, and we all have a production capacity, whether it's laying golden eggs or doing something else. We have that within us, and we can do some things through different private levels of victory, through public levels of victory, where we get to the point where we are interdependent and we are helping people in society, in our families, and not just working as an individual. So let's talk about what the 7 habits are, and then we'll go through each one in more detail. So the first thing is be proactive. The second thing is begin with the end in mind. The third thing is put first things first. The fourth thing is think win-win. The fifth thing is first seek to understand, then be understood. The sixth thing is synergize. And the seventh thing is sharpen the saw. And we'll explain each one of those now since you know what they are. Let's talk briefly about them, but there is no substitute for getting the book. Go online, talk about it with other friends, and work together. So let's go with habit 1. It's called being proactive. Basically, you are the programmer in your life. So think about it like that. You acknowledge the fact that you're the person who's writing the scripts for your life, not your parents, not different authority figures that in your past or in your future. You're the person that has the power to be proactive, to make those decisions. So instead of saying, if only I had this, or if only I were here, or if only I were there, you can say, I am here, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I need to do. So we all have things called that we care about, and these are things that are called our circle of concern in the book. And we also have things that we can actually do something about, and that's our circle of influence. And how do we make decisions that help us focus in the things that we can control, things that we can influence, and how we can get better? The very first thing is by making that decision of the personal vision of saying, I'm going to take control and move forward. Now, secondly is personal leadership, which means you want to begin with the end in mind. So you're going to start employing levels of personal leadership. So the book uses an example of picturing yourself at your own funeral. And what would people say about you? How would you feel about your life if it ended right now? What would the people that matter to you, how would they feel about your character? How would they feel about your contribution? How would they feel about your achievement? How would you feel about those things? If you are happy, that's great. If you want to even get stronger, what's recommended is putting together a mission statement. Maybe for yourself, maybe a mission statement for your family that addresses the center of your life and what are the things that are truly valuable, truly important to you, things that are unshakable, that won't rock you one way or the other because you know what the center of your life really is. So that's what it's talking about, beginning with the end in mind. Other things will fall into place if you know where you want to go. Now, we've already made that decision, so now let's go to step 3, putting first things first. Now, it's very complicated in life sometimes. You have different people who are stakeholders who want different things from you. And how do you decide what's the first thing? Basically, you have to understand what your center is and understand what's truly important to you. Now, they talk about a quadrant, and they talk about quadrant 2 thinking, which we'll emphasize. But let me talk about all 4 of the quadrants in life. Quadrant 1 is something that's important and it's urgent. You can't get out of it. If you don't do it, something terrible could happen. It could be a health risk. It could be paying your taxes. It could be something very important and urgent where there's not really a lot of thought of whether you're going to do it. You absolutely have to do it. Quadrant 2 is something that's also just as important, but it's not urgent. It's something that you can kick down the road and say, we'll deal with it later. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I know I need to do it. Quadrant 3 is something that, yes, it's urgent, but it's not important. It's important to somebody else. It could be that phone call you get. It could be the meeting you've been asked to go to or the report you've been asked to write. It's important to somebody else besides you, but it's urgent, and don't get stuck in that because that can get you fired. And quadrant 4 is something that can also get you fired, and it's even worse, where it's not important and it's not urgent. So stay away from that as much as you can when you're trying to be effective. We all want to have fun in life. We all want to have our recreation, but try to control that and spend most of your time in quadrant 2. And this is the area where you're talking about future plans. You're talking about getting yourself together. You're talking about your vision of what you want to do and how you're going to put things in place. A lot of times when we're at work, we don't do this enough. We're too busy just going. We see the light on the phone and we want to answer it and start putting out fires. Spend your time in quadrant 2, things that are important, they're not urgent, and as you get stronger in that and working on what your vision is for your life, you'll have more time and you'll start squeezing out some of those other quadrants that are time wasters. Now, those are all levels of private victory that you get that take you from a point of being a dependent person, counting on the outside world to guide you, to becoming an independent person that is looking toward yourself for the solutions, and you're much stronger, and now you're ready to go to the next level, which goes from independence to interdependence, and you do that through private victories, or through public victories rather. So the first level of public victory is a shift in your thinking and your action. It's thinking win-win. So you have solutions, you have conflicts. You've heard that phrase win-win, but let's compare it to some of the other types of things so it'll mean a little bit more to you and it won't be so cliche. So we don't want to think about win-lose where, hey, I win, you lose, no matter what, I'm going to win, I'm going to dominate you. We don't want to be that kind of person. What's worse is the lose-win person who just says, hey, have your way, everybody walks over me, you might as well do it too. Now we also have somebody that's lose-lose. Hey, if I don't get it, none of us get it, we'll just blow this whole thing up. Nobody's going to win because I'm not going to sit by and let you win, so I'll sabotage you, and two people are just going at it. Now, we also have the kind of person that says win. That just means I got mine. You've heard that phrase? I got mine, and they don't care if you get yours or if you don't get yours. As long as they win, they're not really trying to dominate you, but they're going to get their piece of the pie, and whatever you do is your own problem. They don't care. And another level of win-win is saying we want to have a win-win solution, or we just won't enter into an agreement at all. So this works with contracts, with businesses, where we want to make sure it's mutually beneficial on each side, or else we just can't get into it because we don't want a problematic business. So you have to have the right character, you've got to have the right relationships, the right agreements, the right support, and the right processes, or none of this will ever work. So public victory is going to go into step 5, which is another public victory. It's a major shift. A lot of us, how we think, I've got to deal with this as well sometimes. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Now, great leaders in other books have also been described this way. They lead with questions. So before you start talking about your point of view, you want to understand where the other people are coming from, get their perspective. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of practice for some of us to do that because we want to get our point out. But first, you can understand where somebody else is standing. Now you can maybe tailor solutions that'll fit them. You can get your point across as well, but you're actually truly understanding that person and not just thinking you know where they're coming from. It's very important. People love to be understood. It's the next most important thing after their physical survival is the psychological survival, and a lot of that is having that affirmation, that understanding. So learning that is very important in your relationships, and that'll lead to many levels of public victory. Now you've learned how to think win-win. You've learned how to understand other people before you seek to be understood by them. Now we want to get to that level of synergy. This is synergize. It's another level of public victory. This is where you learn how to find third alternatives. Person A thinks this, you think that, and instead of saying this or that, you work together and get something better. So synergy is defined. We all know this. The whole being greater than the sum of its parts. It's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason because it's true. That's why it's cliche and that's why you hear it so much. But you've got to be authentic, you've got to be honest, and you've got to be open to bring that out in other people. And what you know is you start getting on something where things are building up exponentially. 1 plus 1 in a compromise situation is 1.5 because you're both giving something away. But in a true synergy situation, 1 plus 1 can equal 8 or 16 or 100 or 1,000. That's where you get trust in. So really working on getting a team environment, a partnership where you're both better together than you are as individuals. Now you've got that level of public victory. You're working on interdependence, but you don't want to stand pat. The next thing you want to do is called sharpen the saw. You've got to do these things because you want to get better. Your competition is coming, and internally you just want to stay on top of things. So you've already mastered these things. You've got good habits, but sharpen the saw. So that could be physically, your exercise game, your diet game, spiritually, going back to those center values that we talked about. We touched on briefly, understanding those things and really renewing yourself with those kind of things. Your mental game, reading, writing, studying, making time to plan, and you're sharpening your saw in your mental side. Also socially, getting with people that are very important to you and using those habits that you've just learned. So learning how to think win-win with other people. These are things you can practice every day, seeking to understand them and really working on synergizing solutions and doing that. So that's that upward spiral. Once you start doing some good things, you start building on good habits, and you spread that goodness with other people, and they start bringing goodness, and it keeps going in an upward spiral, and you bring that positive energy, and you're bringing those results to the table in your business world or in your personal life. So I hope these things help you. Again, there's no substitute at all for reading this book. I very highly recommend reading it. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Thanks. Feel free to talk about it with others, ask some questions. Again, let's synergize. Thanks a lot for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this.